the tools you need. Call them today. They're my great friends, and you'll love them. It's the London Mortgage team.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My check engine light's on?
That could hurt your gas mileage. The AutoZone free Fix Finder service can help find the fix for free.
Get in zone.
This whole report for free?
That's right. Printed and on your phone for free.
Get in zone.
But what if the fix is too tough?
We'll recommend a local shop. Fix Finder, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Beat the Book, which means that we've got a lot of things to talk about, perhaps stuff that we didn't quite get to when we started to address the weekend at the beginning of the week. ASU football in a really good spot right now. We'll obviously talk about that. We've got a ton of NBA stuff to get into. The NBA Cup looking real good. But first, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Keon Rosen. Alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. We are broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. And you're on the text line, by the way. You help us with the show with some of your betting opinions, your picks, the things that went well for you, the things that didn't really go so well. Either way, we always want to talk about it. That is 888-368-1580. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
We are powered by Sport Trade, and make sure you search Sport Trade on your smartphone in the App Store. Download the app, get your account set up, use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on new account signups. And make sure that you tune in this coming Friday. Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane will be joining us again for the next weekly Sport Trade implied probability contest, where the prize is a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account for you to wager with. So you do not want to miss out on that. Make sure you get your Sport Trade account set up so you can take advantage of all of the prizes that you can potentially win by participating in that contest, and hopefully being the lucky winner there. We've had some really interesting scenarios where there's a winner and then there's someone that's pretty close, and for whatever reason, they're not winning it. And I mean, it's fun. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
Pour one out for Baker's cocky house.
I'm trying to tiptoe around it.
Yeah.
So, that being said, NBA Cup went down last night. Another round of the group play games happened. And I don't know if, anyone else is starting to pick up on this. Last year was the first year that they did the NBA Cup, and there was rightfully a lot of confusion. The language on the rules was out there, the structure, everything about how it worked was out there. But just because it was the very first time of going through all the motions and seeing all these like wacky colored courts and the different jerseys, and like not really embracing and understanding the significance of, what some of these group play games mean, and, what kind of strategy you can take to them. I mean, you just saw a lot of teams last year just kind of deal with it. Like they weren't really
they
trying.
play it like any other regular season game, even though there were NBA Cup implications of it.
So, now what's happened is, a year's gone by. Teams all saw the Lakers win. Teams all saw the Lakers players get a little bit of extra money, that they got just simply by doing their job and, just playing these basketball games. And now here we are, year two. And I mean, the whole thing just feels improved. The product that we're seeing on the floor every Tuesday and Friday, in my opinion, right now, it's been just like a little tick up, a little bit better, than just that average day of regular NBA season games, like, how we're getting tonight. It doesn't mean that the NBA regular season games can't be exciting. It doesn't mean that they can't,
Right.
Go down to the wire. But case in point, there were two different upsets, so to speak, that happened last night where, the team that was down in those games, they were down by quite a lot and they fought their way back. Like they were incentivized to not give up, to hang in there, to try and make, a fight out of it. And in each case, neither of these teams, were able to ultimately win the game. But, for you, the viewer, the product, much improved. I mean, a lot of fun to watch.
It is better to watch. I don't think that that's particularly up for debate when you have a team that's like, well, damn, even if we don't win, the point differential matters. And so if we lose by 3 as opposed to losing by 23, there's an incentive to do that and to claw back into the game and to make it work. Give yourself a chance to win. But even if you don't win, there is some kind of a victory in not getting the doors blown off of your stadium, which, we saw the Cavs be able to do that a little bit last night. I think that was the team that stood out the most to me. But seeing these teams be able to fight and not give up means that, yeah, you're watching fourth quarters that mean something. You're watching, third quarters that mean something, where in the past and certainly on other days, you're more likely to just lay down if you're getting blown out by 20 because, well, it's not getting anybody hurt on top of, getting a loss.
Well, and look, with that Cavs and Celtics matchup, like, yes, on paper, Boston was the favorite, based on how odds makers felt about this. But Cleveland was carrying a 15-0 record into this game, and they had all of their best players available, for that matchup. So, I mean, when you think about who's like truly the underdog in it, I mean, yes, Boston did end up winning the game, but Cleveland was down 17 points at halftime. And then they turned around and outscored the Celtics in the third quarter by 12. And then they managed to outscore them again in the fourth quarter, even though it wasn't enough to ultimately win the game. Final score, 120-117. Boston wins by 3. So Cleveland, even though they were down, there were times where they were down over 20 points in this game. For them to fight back, to get to a place where they covered the spread, the over also hitting this one too. We went pretty in depth about why overs are a good play on NBA Cup nights. And it's because both teams are still incentivized to try and score as much as they can, regardless of the end result. You want to win these group play games, but if you're going to lose, then it's much better to lose by a smaller margin than it is a larger margin. And so, outside of this Cavs and Celtics matchup where we saw this, there was another game where it was very blatant. It was very defined, the impact that this game just being an NBA Cup game had. And that was the matchup between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, you look at this game on paper, and I was very much in the camp of, the Oklahoma City Thunder are probably going to win, and they're probably going to win by a lot. Why? Well, they're a great team as it stands. They're a great defensive team. They're one of the teams that understands, what they need to do to give themselves an edge in the NBA Cup round. And then you look at the other side, and the Spurs' best 2 players, Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama, were not playing. So rightfully, Oklahoma City came into this game as, about a 10-point favorite.
Mm-hmm. Which is a pretty big number for just a regular season game.
A huge number. But I mean, for good reason.
Yeah.
They were not able to get the win. They lost. San Antonio walks away victorious. Final score 110-104. Now, in this game, similar kind of trajectory as the Boston-Cleveland game, where in the first half, the Spurs were very competitive. By the end of the third quarter, I mean, the Spurs were up double digits. The Thunder, with 10 minutes left in that game yesterday, and I know this because I went on Sport Trade. I started to do a live bet on it. The Thunder were down 22 points with 10 minutes left. They were offered at 5.5% win probability on Sport Trade.
Wow.
I went ahead and put $2 down on that. Said, hey, you know what? I don't like who's not on the court right now for the Spurs. Maybe the Thunder can mount a comeback here. They started to come back. I mean, this game came down to the final, 2 minutes. And for much of the last 2 minutes, it was like a 6-point game. The Thunder did rally. I had a chance to cash that bet out on Sport Trade. I got greedy, and I thought the Thunder were going to, finish the job. They did not. So I did not end up winning on that live wager. And, in reality, looking back at this, being a Suns fan and wanting to see my Phoenix Suns win the NBA Cup, this was huge. We did not expect the Thunder to potentially lose this game. I felt like the only team that had the potential to beat them outside of us was the Lakers. And ironically, they do play on Friday, so we will get to see how that matchup goes. But now, as of today, you look at the NBA Cup standings, and things look a lot better for the Suns than they did yesterday. We shouted out on this show how FanDuel, when you go to their futures and you're looking at the odds for the NBA Cup teams and who's going to win, the Suns were fairly far down that list. They were priced at 55-1 yesterday. And now after Oklahoma City lost, those odds have now gone down to about 43-1. So still a good chance to be able to get in on the Suns here. And then when you look at this, the Spurs are 1-1 in our group. The Thunder are 1-1 in our group. The Suns are 1-1 in our group. However, the Lakers did manage to beat the Jazz yesterday. They are still undefeated. They are 2-0. Now, this is going to get really important because the Suns do play tonight. They play against the Knicks. It's not an NBA Cup game, thankfully, because we're still dealing with some injuries.
Right.
But after that, we don't play again until Tuesday against the Lakers.
Which is a lot of health and a team that the Suns, when healthy, have matched up pretty well against.
So, I mean, we've already proven it that, if we have Bradley Beal, if we have Kevin Durant, if we've got our guys and everyone is able to get on the court, we can definitely make a game out of that with the Lakers. We can win that. And if we're able to do that, then both of our records would then go to, 2-1, although actually the Lakers do play the Thunder. So there is a chance they could be 3-1 at that point. The Suns will still have another cup game to play against the Spurs. So there's going to be a possibility there for Phoenix to match the record of the Lakers. So if we have tying records at that point, it's going to go to point differential. And this is where, we had this whole talk about it yesterday, how many points you win by in these cup games. It's important and it's motivating these teams.
Tiebreaker. And then because of the group play, the groups are not that big and you're going around and you're playing everybody once. There's going to be a lot of ties in these groups, and that really does matter, and there's a reason why, like we said earlier, the Thunder are fighting back in a game like they were, or like the Cavaliers were fighting back in that game against Boston. It's because you're trying to keep that point differential low. So that it's that important that a team that is for sure going to lose is still going to go out there and swing for the fences. And I think that can work in the Suns' favor, given all the rest that they're about to have.
So I'm double checking the schedule right now. I don't know why I was under the impression that the Lakers played the Thunder on Friday. They do not. So that's good. That means that by the time the Lakers and the Suns play next week, we'll have the chance to be able to tie them at two wins and one loss in that NBA Cup group play. So here's where, you start to kind of see what kind of a win you're going to need. If you look at the Suns and the Lakers on Tuesday, we're going to need to beat the Lakers, not just by like a handful of points. Ideally, we're going to need to beat them by like 10 points or more. If we can pull that off, then you're looking at, a real true, more even scenario where the point differentials are going to get about the same. And then there's still more, group play games left to where, we'll have the opportunity to create some distance. So again, I still love Suns to, win the NBA Cup at 43-1. That's a very generous price right now. There's still a pathway there for Phoenix to get out of Group B and advance to the knockout round. So that's something we're going to be keeping our eye on over here. Now, speaking about, what's going on today with our Suns, they are playing tonight. Game is at Footprint Center. We are taking on the New York Knicks. It is a revenge game for Mikal Bridges, who was traded over the offseason to the Knicks from the Brooklyn Nets. And Mikal Bridges has come back to Phoenix once since the Kevin Durant trade. He did drop 21 points on us. This is back when he was on the Nets, and he was really like the focal point of the Nets offense. Mm-hmm. So, you look at this game tonight. How do we want to bet it? What kind of an angle are we going to take to it? It's still not the best spot for the Suns in terms of backing them to win only because of the ongoing injuries. Bradley Beal is not going to be playing tonight. Kevin Durant obviously out. Nurkic is questionable, probably going to be a game time decision. And if we're missing all three of those guys and we're only playing with two starters, it really just puts us in a hole to begin with. That's going to be really difficult to climb out of.
Yeah, you're look, it's just going to be that for now until the 26th without Beal and Durant. And then obviously Nurkic helps a little. I mean, he as he was starting to play better before he got hurt. So he does help a little, but the fact is you just have too many injured bodies at too many important positions on that team going up against a fully healthy Knicks team for the most part. And at least one player who wants to prove that it was a bad idea for this team to move on from him. I like the spot for Mikal Bridges as well. I think that this has the potential to be maybe not like a monster Mikal Bridges game, but a good Mikal Bridges game where, you know, you can find some numbers and some props to hit here.
His line on points right now on FanDuel, it's sitting at 15.5. So, you know, one of the picks that I did put out on the Beat the Book website for the 10 bets for today was for Mikal Bridges to get 15 or more points in this game. That is currently paying -140. That is a great prop to use if you're looking to build a parlay. When you're looking at the Suns, you know, this does have the markings of a potentially big Devin Booker game. This is a primetime matchup that will be on ESPN. I do expect the Suns to put forth a better effort than what we saw against the Magic.
You know, good Lord.
well, and again, though, I mean, that Magic game, I mean, they just caught the Suns, you know, in a terrible spot where we're heavily injured and we have no rest. And that is like a lethal combination in professional basketball to, you know, just ultimately lose, you know, any given game. So now what's actually happening in this one is the Knicks are the team that is not doing so well on the rest side. This will be their third game in 4 nights. It'll be their 5th game in a week. So there has been a lot of mileage on those Knicks legs, you know, as of recently. And then they had to do some cross-country travel on top of that. But even with all that being said, this Knicks team has one of the most talented starting fives in all of the NBA, in my opinion. Like 1 through 5, very capable player. You know, they're still trying to figure that team out, I think, especially on the defense, but you're starting to see them really click on the offense. And this is where it makes it a little challenging if you're someone that really likes Jalen Brunson to score, or maybe Karl Anthony Towns to score. I mean, both of those guys could definitely have very big games tonight. I just think there's going to be somewhat of an effort on the Knicks' part to look to get Bridges more involved than normal, because they know, you know, what this town means to Mikal Bridges. They know the emotions that were there when, you know, the trade finally got executed. And I think there's just going to be a little bit of like internal sympathy about making sure that he shines tonight in front of, you know, the Suns crowd.
Yeah, especially being on a team like this, which is different from his stint with the Nets, where as good as he was, that team wasn't going anywhere. This Knicks team is an actual threat in the Eastern Conference. And, you know, making sure all of your guys eat, that's a big part of building a good locker room. The Knicks seem to have one. Seems like a spot where, yeah, you could rely on Mikal Bridges to kind of go off. So that's the analysis there. What we're going to take a look at here in a little bit is some ASU football. We'll also look at some of the 6-point play picks for tonight. And then in segment number 3, we're going to wrap the show up with some more picks. If we don't get to the 6-point play, we'll do it there. This is Beat the Book right here on 1580, The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Sports betting apps are not created equal. Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here to talk about the Sport Trade Advantage. With higher payouts, Sport Trade is the ultimate sports betting experience. Sport Trade is the first sports betting app that gives you the option to see the odds expressed as probabilities, and it's changing in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus -108 odds, then Sport Trade is for you. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. And if you're an experienced bettor and prefer American odds, you'll get pricing closer to minus 106 versus the normal minus 110, coupled with instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. So download Sport Trade today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
Sport Trade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com. Don't miss out on Black Friday sales live now through November 30th.
Let's go!
ABC tonight, country music's biggest night, the CMA Awards.
Let's party, Nashville!
Kicks off with this year's must-see collaboration, Post Malone featuring Chris Stapleton live. With electrifying performances by Lainey Wilson, Shabuzi, Ashley McBride, Luke Bryan, plus Thomas Rhett and Teddy Swims. Woo! Luke Bryan, Peyton Manning, and Lainey Wilson host the CMA Awards live tonight, 8/7 Central on ABC and stream next day on Hulu.
It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down, now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppan chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game and a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppan.com. That's KASAI Teppan.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
The most important event in sports could happen at any time.
Like right now.
Or right now.
Or even now.
Don't miss history. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or at 1580thefanatic.com.
We'll get back to talking about the National Basketball Association here in just a little bit. But first, let's see here on the text line. Nah, Booger Wolf, not reading that. Don't care. All right, so we're going to talk some ASU football. And ASU football in a very, very, very good spot right now. And I'm shocked. Like, I thought that ASU was going to have a really good season. I talked about it all offseason long. That I liked what Kenny Dillingham was doing with the program and the fact that he understands how to build a good college football team. Like, he understands what you have to do in recruiting. He prioritizes in-state than out-of-state. Perfect. But then he's able to find reach outside of other places. He uses the transfer portal well. You may not like the transfer portal. Smart coaches use it. You just have to. It's part of college football now. Either you do it or you're Nick Saban. You look at your career, you go, I've done enough, and you walk away. I don't think there's any wrong option there, but Kenny Dillingham's pretty young. It's going to be here if that's what you want to do. And so he's done a fantastic job putting together a program that I just like. It's something that's sustainable. This isn't a one-off when you have the level of recruiting that he is continuing to roll into this season. Kenny Dillingham's going to be here for a while. He's an ASU alum, which is huge because that means that he's less likely to go anywhere. Like, this is his dream job. He's already there. He's not Mario Cristobal leaving, Oregon to go to FSU. I mean, it's just like that. You don't have to worry about
DeBoer, going to Bama.
Yeah, like you're just not going to necessarily get that. So I think that there's exciting times on the horizon for ASU, but specifically ASU football right now is ranked.
Well, and there's just a extreme amount of irony in what the narrative was about the Big 12 and about Big 12 football before there was any Big 12 football that happened this year compared to, where things stand right now. And where things stand right now are that if you look at the Big 12 conference, you've got BYU ranked number 14 with a record of 6-1 in first. You've got Colorado right behind them, also with a 6-1 record, ranked number 16. And then number 3 in the conference, little old ASU, ranked number 21, 5-2 record in the conference. And you just could not have scripted this any better. Actually, I guess you could. If the BYU game was truly the final game of the season, that would be the only way to script this just a little tiny bit better. But here you have it. I mean, almost last game of the season for the Sun Devils, and they're squaring off against, the top team in the conference, and the winner of this, more than likely, is going to be going on to the Big 12 championship game. So, this matchup, to an extent, kind of serves as sort of like that first round of the playoffs, where you can basically look at this as like single elimination. I mean, if we don't beat BYU there, ASU is going to get into, a decent bowl game for sure. But you can kiss those CFP hopes goodbye. So that's where, it's time to, to hone in, to focus. And Kenny Dillingham, you could not have the program in better hands right now. There is not another coach in the country that I would want to be coaching this program. And Keon, I had mentioned this to you too, off the air, of course. But I was a little concerned. I was like, Kenny is doing such a great job here. He's energizing the entire city. He's rallying all of, Phoenix and all the, surrounding cities to back ASU. And just the turnaround in such a short amount of time, like another school has got to be looking at this guy, licking their chops, going, oh my God, like he's our man. And what you had said to me, and it's really easy to forget, like Kenny Dillingham is a Sun Devil. He's one of us. He was one of those students, storming the field when
he said so.
Right. Whenever we had some remarkable, upset win in the past. There is not another school, quite frankly, that Kenny Dillingham wants to go coach at. So, it just appears to be this match made in heaven. And now we get this excellent game here at, in Tempe, this coming Saturday. And I do have to say, I was honestly a little bummed that BYU lost last week. The sports better in me was. And the only reason why is because had BYU won against Kansas, and if they were coming into this game undefeated, I would imagine on paper they would have been the odds-on favorite coming into this.
Mm-hmm.
But coming off that loss, coming off the impressive ASU win, you take a look at where this line stands right now. ASU is a 3.5-point favorite, minus 144 on the money line at FanDuel right now. So, I don't disagree with this. I just I'm sad about missing out on the opportunity to get ASU as an underdog on the money line.
Yeah, no, because then it pays out better, as well as you having, the ability to root for your team, not just to make you some money, but just to root for your team. But that being said, opportunities aside, I do think that ASU is just in such a good spot because of how they play the game. They established the run. Cam Scadaboo helps with that. And then when you look at the defensive side of the ball, you can't really run on these Sun Devils easily. So I think that that's going to be very interesting to see how BYU approaches this game, because when the Sun Devils notice what you like to do, that's bad news for you. They take that away. BYU, they're kind of more balanced, but they like to throw the football. And I think that the run game and stopping the run game is so, I think, a big a part of what ASU just naturally does. It's going to be difficult, I think, for BYU to get rolling early. But we've seen that with ASU, that they've stopped teams early and then kind of let things get out of hand late. So I'm not counting out the Cougars. I think that BYU has got a great football team in their own right, and Kalani Sitake, their coach, is doing an incredible job over there and has been for the last handful of years. So that this is still a tough matchup, even though BYU lost, and even though if you look at the odds, ASU is a favorite.
And if you happen to pull up your Sport Trade account, I just got to the game on Sport Trade. So ASU is currently 61% to win that game. BYU is 41%. And you know what? Maybe there's kind of a scenario there. If you think ASU is going to take that first punch, maybe you get on BYU first, you let them score first, you cash out your live bet, you turn around, you flip, you put it on ASU. That could be a winning scenario that might play out. Just kind of curious now, because I honestly have not really looked at this, but one bet that I was relatively curious about at the beginning of the year was just simply for ASU to make the college football playoff. And now, from where we stand, I mean, this looks like something that is fairly likely. I'm trying to find futures odds for it right now on FanDuel, and I'm not really seeing it. But the last times that I did bring this up, and again, I mean, this is just I'm grieving, the missed opportunities right now. I know that you and I looked at this like before the season began. Yep. It had to have been like 100 to 1, maybe.
It was some insane,
something astronomical.
Yeah, it was some insane number that just, and I remember we talked about it. I kind of laughed it off, like, what if? But I just didn't think that the odds of it happening were good enough to bet. I mean, obviously the payout would have been great, but the odds of it actually occurring, again, preseason, that's all we had to go on. And you could go with Cam Scatterbo, but we just had players on this team that we hadn't seen a whole lot of, chief among them being Sam Levitt, the quarterback. We hadn't seen anything from Sam Levitt. He played 3 games at Michigan State. There was no way to know he would be this good. Because I think if people knew how good Levitt was going to be, and that you could add that to what Scatterbo brings to any offense, yeah, I honestly, those odds would have been much different before the season starts. And before you respond there, Dylan, Swazman on the text line says, "Hey guys, I won my first bet on Sport Trade last night. Money line, just $1, but I am a recreational fun only better," which no guilt there, Swazman. I am too. And he says, "By the way, will I receive an email about winning last week's contest?" So I guess he hasn't received that just yet.
You will. I actually just had my meeting with Sport Trade today, so they should be reaching out to you today. And if you do not hear from them, I would say by Friday, definitely feel free to shoot another text. Let Keon and I know. But I believe you're going to be receiving an email for it today. But definitely glad to hear about the win on Sport Trade. Congratulations there. As you were talking there, I was just kind of cycling through some other odds. I noticed some interesting stuff. Right now, if you want to go look at futures on who's going to win the Big 12, this is really interesting how this is priced right now. They've got Colorado as essentially the odds-on favorite. They're priced at plus 100 on FanDuel. Then you've got BYU at plus 310, even though BYU is priced as the dog at ASU. So kind of conflicting rationale there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got ASU after that at plus 350, 3.5 to 1. So this is something where, it wouldn't take very long for this to pay out, just a few weeks. And if you like, 3.5 to 1 return there for ASU, assuming they can beat BYU, assuming they win the Territorial Cup and they advance to the Big 12 championship game, more than likely against Colorado, then that just begs the question. And Keon, I'm curious for your thoughts on this. If ASU beats BYU and they win the next week in Tucson, and they get that Big 12 matchup against Colorado, like how do you see that matchup? How do you see that playing out?
I think that's a fascinating game. I would tend to lean towards Colorado because I think what the Buffaloes have shown this season is they can beat you in so many different ways. The way they run the football, which isn't great, but it's good enough to make everything else work. And then Shedeur Sanders, I think, is an incredible quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. That guy has pocket presence like you wouldn't believe. He has the ability to extend plays with his legs. He always keeps his eyes downfield. He's accurate as a passer of the football. He makes good decisions. I think maybe his biggest thing is that he holds on to the ball too long. And honestly, that's probably not going to be an issue for him until he gets to the next level. It just isn't a problem here in college. So I see Shedeur Sanders as this kind of X factor because I don't know how ASU would go about containing him, even though they've shown that they're a great defensive unit. Found the 2024 preseason odds for the Big 12. And boy, let me tell you, the ASU number is bigger than what I remember it being. So BYU actually had the worst odds to start the year, plus 12,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Then Houston and ASU were tied as second place at plus 10,000. And then Cincinnati was plus 6,500. Baylor was plus 5,500. And then Colorado was plus 4,000. Those are all the teams that were projected to finish near the bottom of the Big 12. The best odds, Kansas State at plus 350, which, to be fair, was working up until until ASU went ahead and ruined that for them. And then Utah at plus 350, which has not gone the way that it was supposed to. Kansas at plus 650 has also been a complete disaster. And then if you get all the way down to Oklahoma State, plus 1,200, that was a dark horse for a lot of people. Not so much.
Yeah, they crashed and burned a little bit early in the season. I was just thinking too, the last ASU football game that I went to, ironically, it was when we played Colorado last season. And if you recall, that was actually like a very good, very competitive, close game. ASU ended up losing, and I want to say it was like a late game field goal because the final score was 27-24. So, to go from that being the very last matchup and a decent amount of, same players on both teams. ASU didn't have Levitt back then, I don't believe. But Cam Scadaboo was in that game. I remember Shedeur Sanders was in that game. Travis Hunter may have played. I think he also might have been injured. I'm trying to remember. It was a while back.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter does sustain, I think, a decent amount of injury, which I think is occupational hazard for playing both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he's going to be just at a little bit more increased risk, for something like that. But either way, I mean, we know when these two teams match up, it's going to be, a really great game, something that you're not going to want to miss. So there's definitely some opportunities right now to capitalize on ASU with what's going on in the Big 12. There's things in the futures market, or you can just bet directly on that ASU and BYU game that's going to be this weekend. But we're definitely loving ASU on that. We like ASU to roll, and hopefully we'll see our Sun Devils here in the Big 12 championship game. So really excited to see how that plays out. I know we've got another break coming up here. So I just wanted to kind of shout out what's going on with the 6-point play stuff. Normally I publish my podcast episodes in the morning, and there's been some tech outage going on for most of the day, stuff completely out of my control. Ironically, like right before the show went on, the episode published. Yeah. So the podcast is out there. 6-point play is where I reserve all of my best NBA betting advice into a 10-minute podcast. So since this didn't get released until like 45 minutes ago, I am going to give out some of these picks on the air here today. This will just be a complete one-off because normally I like to try and keep these things separate. But, going back to the NBA for tonight, there is a nice slate of games on. We've got a lot of great matchups. I would say this is my single best betting opportunity today amongst all sporting events going on. It's going to be within the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls game taking place a little bit later on tonight. You can go ahead and place a bet on Giannis Antetokounmpo to score in this game. If you want to take him, just to get over on his line for points, right now his line's gone up throughout the day. It started at 30.5. It's currently up to 32.5. You're still fine to play that over 32.5. You can take him for 30. You can take him for 25. You can take him for 35. You can probably take him for 40. I am this confident about Giannis when he plays the Bulls because he owns this franchise the way LeBron James owns the Toronto Raptors. Sometimes within the NBA, when you have a long enough career, there is one specific team out there. Sometimes it's not even like analytics. It's not numbers. It's not even something you can point to. There's just something about a team that makes a certain player feel very good about their prospects on any given day that they play them.
To the point where the rosters don't even matter. Like 5 years ago, this was still true about Giannis. He just doesn't like the Bulls very much for whatever reason.
And I mean, if you don't want to take me on my word for this, if you want to go back and do the work, I mean, look at Giannis's game log going back to last season, the season before that, the season before that, the season before that,
just
the season
destroys
before
them.
that, every time.
And part of it too is like Giannis is deeply aware of what fans think, and he likes Milwaukee, and he likes Milwaukee fans. Milwaukee fans don't like Chicago fans at all. And I don't know if that's the reason he gets up for these games. I have no clue. But for whatever reason, when the Milwaukee Bucks play the Chicago Bulls in Chicago, Giannis is on this wrecking shop tour to make these people look bad. And they can't stop him. It doesn't matter who's on the floor.
And I mean, if you want to see something more recent to kind of make you feel better about that, Giannis, within his last 5 games, he has 1 game with 59 points. He's got another game with 43 points. He's actually already played the Bulls earlier this year. And I did give this pick out on 6 Point Play way back when. He scored 38 points in the 1 game he's already played against the Bulls this year. That is generally in the neighborhood of the amount of points that he tends to get when he plays these guys. He is habitually scoring high 30s, in the 40s. He might pepper in a 60-point game in there somewhere. That could be tonight. But either way, you should feel comfortable backing him on his points. So that is one that I wanted to make sure to get out to the 4th dimension. And when we come back from the break, I've got some more to go through here. So excited to share those with you guys.
Absolutely. Booger Wolf on the text line saying, I retract my earlier text, which no, you don't. I just didn't read it. That's not the same thing. You don't get to do the you didn't fire me, I quit thing. You're not retracting anything. I did not read it. It was dumb. But he said the Suns need all the practice they can get to win this cup. Don't think it's a practice issue, Booger Wolf. Think it's a missing 2 stars and your big man issue, but all right, cool. And then Swazman on the text line says, does Sport Trade not support parlay bets? And Dylan, would you like to field that one real quick?
Yes. It's something that we don't acknowledge directly a lot on this show. Sport Trade did a soft launch at the end of September. So they're still very early in their infancy here in Arizona. So they will have that capability to parlay. It is not out right now. They are anticipating it to go live within the next few months. So we're going to, keep all of you up to date with that timeline. And once, they let us know, when that date is of when those parlays will be available on there, we're going to be sure to let you know. And it's important because Sport Trade generally offers like the most aggressive pricing on any given line that you're playing. So when you eventually get the capability to combine that aggressive pricing in a parlay, that means you're going to get the most aggressive parlay pricing out there. So
Yeah.
you're just not going to want to miss out on it. But to answer your question, right now you cannot parlay on the app, but the capability is coming. They are working on it.
So there you have that. Thank you for that. We're trying to be transparent, so we appreciate both of you guys on the text line there. This is Beat the Book right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
At Diamond Dave's Desert Wholesale Diamond,
We offer incredible diamonds, both mined and cultivated, all at amazingly low prices.
check out these cultivated lab-grown diamond earrings.
2 carats total weight, collection color and lab grown, only $25.90.
And she'd love this amazing tennis bracelet in natural mined.
4 carats total weight in yellow or white gold, only $39.90.
And how about this diamond chain in cultivated?
12.5 carats total weight, collection color and lab grown, only $79.90.
And last but not least, especially this year, 1.5 carat floating diamond pendant.
Collection color and lab grown, only $9.90.
Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to HarmonSolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast too. Check it out. Go to HarmonSolar.com. That's HarmonSolar.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My check engine light's on?
That could hurt your gas mileage. The AutoZone free fix finder service can help find the fix for free.
Get in the zone.
This whole report for free?
That's right, printed and on your phone for free.
Get in the zone.
But what if the fix is too tough?
We'll recommend a local shop. Fix Finder, only at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
In most countries of the world, Forte means door. United Forte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
Life is full of bright moments, but sometimes those moments can seem too far away. Trained and caring crisis specialists in Arizona can assist you with any situation, big or small. Free and confidential help is only one text away, day or night. Text the word HOPE to 4HOPE, that's HOPE, to 44673. These moments matter, and so do you. This message is sponsored by Solari Crisis and Human Services.
Download the Fanatic app.
News, scores, social media updates, and more on your smartphone, on your tablet. The free Fanatic app, available at the Google Play Store or the App Store, and at 1580thefanatic.com.
Here it is, final segment of the show. We got you one of the 6-point play picks today. We're trying to get you all of those because, as Dylan was mentioning earlier, we had some trouble with the podcast and that going out. And, there's a chance to get some of these picks earlier in the day when you can actually act on them before the lines move throughout the day. Podcast came out late, so we're going to try and get you some of those 6-point play picks right now. Dylan, what is your next best play for the people to look at?
Moving over to the Golden State Warriors and Atlanta Hawks matchup, and you can look to bet on Trae Young to get assists in this game tonight. Trae Young is currently second in the NBA in assists. He's averaging over 11.5 per game. He is coming off a 19 assist performance against the Sacramento Kings just back on Monday. And if you go back and you look at Trae Young's last 4 games against the Warriors, and this is going all the way back to the 2022 season, he's averaging 12 assists per game against the Warriors. So it's a team that he's got an excellent track record of, being able to be a facilitator against and, getting his teammates involved with. And he's obviously coming off a huge performance. Like I said, the 19 against Sacramento. 3 out of his last 5 games, he's had 13 or more assists. So it's definitely a great time right now to count on Trae Young to pass the ball and get his teammates going. And if you take a look at his line right now, it's actually right where it was when I put this all together this morning. So that's great to see. The line is at 10.5 on his assists. So if you want to be a little more conservative about it, take him for 10 or more assists, that's paying minus 165. If you are okay just taking him right at the line, I definitely feel like he's good for at least 11 in this game. Like I said, he's been averaging 12 against the Warriors. So then you're getting, minus 113 on the odds there for Trae Young. Outside of Trae Young, another good guy to look at today is going to be Evan Mobley on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan Mobley has been just a huge, just stable present force for the Cavs so far. Very, very good offensive rebounder, gets a lot of easy second chance buckets really close to the rim. He's been scoring a lot this year. He is currently averaging a little bit over 18 points per game. And if you take a look at where his line is, when I was putting this together, at least this morning, it was at about 17.5. And the Cavaliers did lose last night. This is the second game of a back-to-back, but they get to go back home. They're taking on the Pelicans, and the Pelicans do not have Brandon Ingram today, on top of all of the other significant injuries that they have. So New Orleans has a squad that's going to play tonight that is not very far off from like a G League team. because they are just flat out missing like every single one of their
Yeah,
starters.
it's brutal over there. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, I thought some of the Suns' injuries were bad. Obviously, you're not better for not having Durant and Beal and Nurkic, but I mean, it's an ICU unit over in New Orleans.
Well, and I mean, if you look at that game and you see the line and you're like, why? I mean, like, I know the Cavs are good, but why are they a 14-point favorite? That's why.
That's why. Yeah. It's
So-
because 14 points, it's sort of like in the NFL when you see a team that's a 14-point underdog. It's such a big number to expect one NFL team, a professional team, to beat another professional team by. You almost never see that, which is why even in games like when we had the Texans and the Cowboys earlier this week, even in games where you know the Texans are much better than the Cowboys, it's still hard to say that's going to be a double-digit victory. It's just so hard to do. Same thing in the NBA. At 14 points, you're just talking about blowing a team out. And while that happens in the NBA, predicting it's just difficult.
It is. And case in point, look at Oklahoma City and the
last
Spurs
night,
last
with
night.
the 10-point spread that they obviously were nowhere close to cover.
So, I mean, look, is there some universe where the Pelicans like just play completely above their potential and win this game? Perhaps. But I mean, either way you spin this, Evan Mobley is going to get his tonight. So,
Oh yeah, I did some betting on Evan Mobley. Yeah, Mr. Mobley, do some things for me, sir.
Now, this is actually something that's good to point out here, and this is why I'm so intent about trying to get the podcast out as early as possible on any given day. Generally, when it comes to prices and shopping, and looking at where you're going to place your sports bets, you're going to find better pricing further out from the game. That's just kind of general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So Evan Mobley, when I was putting the podcast together this morning, for him to get 15 or more points in this game, it was paying like minus 170. Right now, for him to get 15 plus, it's minus 220. So that's just, nice example of how, timing is important when it comes to sports betting and, being strategic about this and being savvy with where you're placing your bets, making sure you're getting the best payouts, because, now here we are a lot closer to game time. There's just a lot more known about the conditions of this game. A lot of other people have been able to get their bets in. I'm sure people have probably been hammering Mobley's over all day long. And that's why it's now leaning over 17.5. And the price is worse than where it was earlier in the day on him to get 15 or more. So that was a good thing to point out there. Want to move on to the next bet. In the Magic and the Clippers game, there's a couple of bets you can make in this one. You can count on James Harden to get 8 or more assists. You can also bet on Franz Wagner to score 25 or more points. Harden and the assists, I don't think there's like a whole lot that needs to be explained there. He's averaging 9 per game. He's fourth in the league in assists. He's got 27 assists in his last 2 games. And the Magic are coming to town. They've never played in the Intuit Dome before. And we know so far that every team that comes in there for like the very first time,
There's a little bit of an adjustment period with that. Yeah, it's just especially that fan wall that they've got going on seems to mess with people's depth perception, and their shooting they're just off when they play there. You obviously get used to it because teams that have played at the Intuit Dome and then played there a second time, those teams have been able to find a little bit of success.
They I mean they definitely figure it out by the time they play again in the Intuit Dome. The Magic do lead the NBA right now in defense. They are limiting opponents to the fewest amounts per game, compared to all the other teams. So, they might be able to figure things out. But either way, Harden to get 8 assists, it's really not asking a whole lot from him. He should be able to get that taken care of pretty easily. And then for Franz Wagner, that's someone that I've already shouted out on this show. He has been playing like an all-star in the wake of Banchero being gone. He has scored 29 or more points for the last 4 straight games. So for him to get 25, not really asking a whole lot out of him. And then the last bet is on Miles Turner on the Indiana Pacers to make 2 or more 3-point shots. So if you want to hear the full scoop on why I like these bets, check out the 6 Point Play podcast. Today's episode is now live on Apple and Spotify. You can also visit the Beat the Book website to see all the other bets that I post on there. That's all I got, Keon.
By the way, if you really want to just stay posted with some other bets as they happen, because we were just talking about sometimes staying ahead of that line, make sure you check out the Beat the Book Instagram, Beat the Book Fanatic
At Beat the Book
Beat the Book
Fanatic.
Fanatic on Instagram. Go ahead and check that out. That'll do it for us. We've got the Daily Blender coming up next, right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Sweeping changes continue to unfold in New York as the Jets have fired general manager Joe Douglas after 6 seasons. Team owner Woody Johnson issued a statement saying in part, "I want to thank Joe for his commitment to the